My mom would be shocked if she knew how big of a pothead I am today. When I was in junior high, I was on the anti-drug council. This wasn't an optimal decision for my mom, who at the same time was discovering how much she herself loved marijuana. But being a good parent of the 90s, she affirmed society's norms at the time and didn't discourage my anti-drug activism. But in reality, it was all her fault to begin with. When I was 4, my mom dropped me off late for Head Start. My teacher, Teacher Fanny, asked me if I was hungry, but I was late because we had already eaten, so I gleefully told him no and why. When he asked me what we had eaten that morning, I looked him straight in his eye, laughed, drugs! And with that, I sauntered off to play with my schoolmates. About 10 minutes later, the headmaster called me into his office and again asked me what I had eaten that morning. I had reiterated that I had eaten drugs, and he let me go back to playing while they called my mom. This was a day before cell phones, so they weren't able to get through to her. When she arrived to pick me up, Teacher Fanny and the headmaster ushered her into the office to chat. My mom was flustered, and I could see her hand movements getting bigger and wider as she spoke. As I waited outside the office, a commercial popped on the TV that they turned on to leave me distracted. I banged on the door screaming, "Drugs! Drugs!" They all came scrambling out of the small office in time to hear the end of the commercial that was on. "This is your brain on drugs." I had eaten eggs for breakfast, but thanks to that commercial, I thought eggs were also called drugs. They sat me down and explained what drugs were. Basically, it was anything I couldn't have, including alcohol and cigarettes. That was another mistake, because my mom smoked. Later on that same day, as we were checking out at the store, my mom asked for a carton. I looked at the cashier, right in her eyes, and smiled excitedly. "My mommy does drugs!" I yelled as loud as I could. My mom didn't have time to explain. She paid and ushered me out. Years later, she found a group of moms who smoked the sticky icky, and she decided to partake. She didn't care how much it bothered me. She made promises to never do it again, but I'd always catch her. It's what prompted me to join the anti-drug council. I didn't like how goofy and kid-like she had begun to act. It pissed me off. It came to a head on the weekend of my 13th birthday. We had already had a big celebration, but on my actual birthday, she sent me off with $150 to pay for a movie and dinner with my friends. It was a very hot day, and once we got out of the movie, we decided to go home and hang out in front of the swamp cooler. Plus, I really wanted to listen to my new CDs, the Men in Black soundtrack, and a Sybil Shepherd jazz album, if you must know. My friends and I arrived back into my apartment earlier than my mom had expected. I could smell the weed as we walked up the sidewalk. When I turned the knob, the sounds of the Steve Miller Band assaulted my ears. As my eyes adjusted, I saw my mom and her friends airbanding along to the music through the smoke. My mom was playing air synth, something I'm super proud of now, looking back. I was livid. I stormed over and shut down the music, lectured my mom and her friends, and corralled my friends into my room. Once my mom's friends left and my friends went home, I didn't want to talk to her. I sat in the living room by myself, listening to my new CDs bitterly. My mom and I never talked about it again, but I did notice she wasn't as goofy as she was before, and I didn't smell weed as often. It wasn't until after she passed that I discovered all the propaganda I'd been fed and how safe weed was compared to every other drug, including alcohol. Once I began to use it regularly, I noticed my anxiety decreased a lot. I slept way better, and I had more energy during the day, and my depression leveled out. While obviously it was a great feeling to be high, it was a great feeling to have so many issues alleviated. I feel guilty now. I think about how much my mom may have gotten out of weed. How, in the name of being a good parent, she was pressured to turn to legal vices that 100% not safer for her. And now, here I am, smoking a joint as I write this, legally able to purchase from an actual store. I wonder how she would react to this new, green, friendly world. I wonder if we'd ever smoke together. I'm privileged to be able to live openly as a pothead, where I don't have to deal with shady dealers, and the person I buy pot from now is a perky, ponytailed, bespectacled white college girl standing behind a counter and rattles off facts about where the buds came from. There's no shame for my love of weed. I actually hope to be a positive example of an avid pot smoker. It's my time to pass on some good weed karma. A regular Snoop Chong Nelson.